Alright, hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Slickmoth, and I'm back again with another video. And in this one, I want to run down some of my favorite books to come out of the DC Universe Rebirth, which happened in, sort of late May, and has since produced a lot of really great Batman, solo books, including Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, etc. So I want to talk about some of my favorites in the DC Universe Rebirth, because some people have asked me, Slick, what if I can only read 2 or 3 books out of Rebirth? What if I can only read 2 or 3? Which would you recommend? Which are the best? So indeed, I'm going to run down, if I could only read 3 or 4 books of Rebirth, this is what I would read, which would be really hard for me because I really do genuinely love most all of them. Now, there's a few that I'm iffy on, but there's none that I hate, okay? So, really, everything's readable. Nothing's bad, but certainly there's some that you're going to like more than others, and there's a wide array of choices for you to read, and here is what I fancy and what I like to read out of DC Universe Rebirth. So, to my left here, I've got some of the books. I've got one example from each series, okay? So, we're going to start with one that's probably not a surprise to you, is on the list, and that is Batman. Okay, so Batman is being written by Tom King right now, who has written Vision, and I've never read his work before, but, basically, the thing that's going to catch you off guard about Batman here is that, it's not really about Batman, so that's sort of weird, right? Especially because Batman is such a big property for DC Comics, their biggest property, I would certainly argue, maybe next to this guy right here. So, and Superman. Superman's their most iconic. But anyway, point being, it's weird because it focuses so heavily on power and Power Girl, and I like that. I like the fact that Batman is he's still the star of his own book. Don't get the wrong idea, but it does focus on these new characters, and they may be a big part of DC in the future. Maybe 20 years from now, Power Girl will still be around. Who knows? Oh, excuse me, Gotham Girl, not Power Girl. Did I say? Hopefully I didn't say that earlier. I meant Gotham and Gotham Girl. So maybe Gotham Girl will still be around in 20 years. Who knows? Power Girl definitely will be. So anyway. Batman this is number 5, but Batman has been very good thus far. I would definitely recommend it, and especially with my channel focusing heavily on Arkham, you guys have probably, have an interest in Batman, so definitely check out Batman. It's been very good thus far. Albeit not focusing on Batman very heavily, and maybe if you want a really Batman-centric book, then you should check out Scott Snyder's All-Star Batman, which started in August. It is going to be monthly, but it's $5 an issue, so it's like, shit, I don't know. So Tom King does it fine for me. That $5, a month book can probably be on the back burner for me. I might get it in a volume, okay? So, Batman's been very good. What else has been really good in Rebirth? This might be my favorite Rebirth series that I'm holding in my hand, and I don't know, but it is Aquaman. So here we have Aquaman number 5. This is the most recent installment of it. Some great art in this book, but really, I love this so much because every issue has been good. Like, this is just every other week, I know I'm going to get a solid read. There's not a slow spot. For example, in Green Arrow, I thought it started out very good, and the last 2 issues for me have just been okay. It's just like every issue's good, and it's something to really look forward to, and it usually ends on a cliffhanger, a very good one, as most comics probably try to, and sometimes that pays off, sometimes it doesn't, and here it really does. Like, I just look forward to reading Aquaman every other week, so it's just a consistently solid book, especially because Aquaman has been one that's been sort of, trampled on the last 20 years in DC's history, and that's really a shame, because he's an awesome character, and, it's great to see the Justice League film actually toying with Arthur Curry's abilities, being able to talk to fish and that sort of thing. I didn't really get the joke because I thought everybody knew that Aquaman could talk to fish, but I guess, that's part of the joke. I don't know. So anyway, I didn't really get that joke because I thought it was, obvious that Aquaman could talk to fish. But anyway, so Aquaman's been very good in Rebirth. Admittedly, I've not read this character extensively in any way. I've read, Jeff Johns' run in the New 52, pretty much most of it, if not all. I'm not certain. But beyond that, I've not read much of Aquaman, and he's definitely one of those characters when I was getting into comics, and, DC Comics in particular, which I did after Marvel. I was hesitant to read Aquaman, just because he's a joke character and to some people, and Jason Momoa is going to change that in the films, but also the Rebirth is changing that as well, and his comics have never really been bad in recent memory. Of course, Jeff Johns did a great run in New 52 as well, so been really enjoying Aquaman and Batman, probably the two, what we'd call like a flagpole book, I guess is what they would call it, like Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, like those sort of characters. Batman and Aquaman rise to the top for me out of all of those characters. So now let's get into some sort of existential surrounding characters that are not a part of, Justice League, or what we'd call like a flagpole title. And this is where we get into Supergirl, okay? Now, Supergirl Rebirth was amazing. Now, the thing about this series is that there's only been one issue. It's been the Rebirth issue. This to me is like, it's so good. I mean, this issue was really good. One of the best Supergirl comics I've ever read in my life. And it combines elements from the show, but it doesn't copy the show in any way. It only, copies a few, like she's a Danvers, okay, so that's one of the things that they draw from. They one of the things I loved about Supergirl is that they keep changing her origin, actually. New 52, they did a lot of really interesting things with Supergirl. So, for example, the show depicts her being launched from her planet as it's blowing up like Superman. Here, it's not the case. She actually gets launched off before the planet blows up, and we see a little bit of her father, for months afterwards, where Krypton has not yet exploded. She's on Argo. Okay, so in the New 52, I love the New 52 Supergirl, okay? So she comes out of the pod lands on Earth. She comes out of the pod and she sees Superman. And, of course, Kal-El is, like an infant, okay, when she leaves Earth. Or when she leaves Krypton, sorry, and she comes out and she just starts beating the shit out of Superman. She starts fighting him, which is, again, very different than what we see, like, in the show, for example, where it's very idyllic, Superman takes it off, and it's, like, his silhouette, and it's all, I guess sort of artsy in a way. But no, Supergirl just comes out and starts beating the shit out of Superman, because she's like, you're not from the House of El, and I love the edginess to her here. That's one of my complaints from the show, is that comic Supergirl is a little bit more snappy. She's a little bit more, I don't know the word. I think you know what I mean. She's a little bit more rough around the edges. Okay, in the show, she's like a super sweet girl, never would be mean to anybody for any reason. But here we see her being a little bit more of a savage. Throwing one-liners out at people, just sort of punching jabs. A little bit more edginess to her character, which I really like to see. And so I mean, Supergirl Rebirth has just been really good, and I believe in the book a lot, so that's why I'm suggesting it to you. If I could only read 4 books, that's one of the 4 I would read. Granted, the art in issue 1 does not look very good. I've seen it. It doesn't look that great. Too cartoony for my taste, but I really believe in the book. I think it's going to be good. So Supergirl Rebirth is definitely on my list of what I've been enjoying. Okay, so now last I've been over Aquaman, Batman, and Supergirl. Supergirl's only had 1 issue, as I mentioned. But now let's get into a book that has had 4 issues, and that is Nightwing. So Nightwing, obviously a big Bat Family character, one that I've been a fan of for a pretty long while. And this Rebirth series has just been stellar. Basically, the first issue is a little bit rough. You're gonna have to, sort of hold on to the book a little bit if you're hesitant to do so, or if you only try a comic out like once or twice, you're probably not gonna get into the book, because issue 1, of course, one of the big complaints about Nightwing is that he was Agent 37, Dick Grayson, in the New 52. People didn't like that very much. Okay. I didn't read the run, so I can't tell you if it's good or bad. All I can say is people definitely didn't like it. I don't have to, inquiry any further to know that. People just didn't like it. Okay, so this changes it. He's back in blue, literally. And the thing about it is that the first issue in the book, it starts with him undercover again. So he's as Nightwing, but he's doing undercover work just like Agent 37 was when he was a Nightwing. So it was weird to me, because the backlash against Dick Grayson being an undercover agent was so big. And they just did it again. And in Rebirth, they just did it all over again. And that was the biggest complaint I saw in the reviews. But the writing's been very solid even with that. And then issues 2 and 3 start to drift away from that. They start drifting more into his relationship with one of the Court of Owls people that he's working with. So he's still doing undercover work, but it's not like in a noir sort of Agent 37 way. It's like in a Nightwing sort of way, which is bearable to me. And we also see him interacting with Batgirl Barbara Gordon, which to me is really the strong points of the book. Now, you're going to notice, even though I'm a huge Batgirl fan, her book's not on my list. I look forward to reading it. It's just weird. I'm not the target demographic of that book, whereas, like, I really think any comic book reader is the target audience of Gail Simone's New 52 Batgirl run. But yeah, I think it's definitely intended for maybe like a tween girl audience to the new Batgirl book. And it's sort of like a blend between Stuart Cameron's run from issue 35 onward in the New 52. You guys might not even know what I'm talking about right now, so I'm just going to stop talking about Batgirl. But anyway, the interactions between Dick and Barbara are the strong points of the book. We see it a little bit at the end of issue 2. And issue 3, Barbara Gordon's in the entire thing. And those are really the strong points, because really everybody knows that Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon are a thing. Everybody knows it. It's like ubiquitous knowledge, unless you've only played Batman Arkham Knight. And I do have some people that have commented on my channel from Arkham fans that actually don't know that they're a couple. They thought that Barbara and Tim were a thing, which they're fucking not. Okay, so anyway, that's a side note. But the thing about this book is that we see them as a couple, and we really haven't seen it in a while. We didn't see it in the New 52. Pre-New 52, we saw it a little bit. But really, a lot of the Dick and Barbara stuff comes from, like the 90s, honestly, like early 2000s. Even in 2006, like I have a lot of Batgirl. I have a lot of Oracle. Okay, so, like even then, you don't really see that very much in like the 2006, three-parter Oracle runs and stuff like that I have. So it's like it's weird because everybody knows they're a couple, but you don't see it. Like it's not anywhere. It's not it's not in film. It's not in the animated stuff all that much. Like in the films, it's certainly not in the games. So it's weird, and it's great to see them finally as a couple for once. So Nightwing, I definitely recommend it. Whether you're a Barbara Gordon fan or a Nightwing fan, it is just Ben Stiller. Okay, so that is what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to sort of rant about one book here at the end here, but this is what I recommend. I recommend that you read Aquaman, especially if you haven't read him extensively beforehand. Batman, Tom King's Batman has been very good. Supergirl, which I really believe in that book. I think it's going to be great. And then Nightwing. So here's one book that I was surprised. Now, I'm reading every Rebirth book. They're all on my pull list. I don't have a pull list because I like picking out the books myself. But, I read everything with the exception of maybe one or two. I haven't read Superwoman Rebirth yet, and I may not ever. But anyway, here's one book that I don't like. And you can see it's Justice League. The Rebirth issue was good. Number 1 was not that good, and I've heard that the book is it's weird. First of all, they're doing the same thing that I feel that they're doing in the films and the New 52, and they're forcing a character on us, and that's Cyborg. Cyborg, to me, he's a Teen Titan. He doesn't belong in the Justice League. That's just my personal opinion. With that being said, they're doing that like tenfold. I'm actually just going to take this out. I mean, I'm not keeping things in mint condition here, okay, so anything like that. It probably already isn't. It's probably like a 9.2 right now anyway. If I were to send it off, which I wouldn't, because it's Justice League Rebirth number 1. You can still buy it and trade. Okay, so they do the same thing here, and you have 2 new Justice Leaguers, Simon Basing and Jessica Cruz, who I don't really know anything about. I don't really care about. So if you're going to include a Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, seems obvious to me. But so I think they're Jeff Johns' creation, and he's the head of DC right now. So it makes sense that they include him. Both of them, but to me, sorry for that beeping, you can probably hear it, but introducing these characters seems like a risky move to me, and they really are just like, I feel like they're forcing the characters down my throat. It's like, you're gonna like these guys, trust me, they're here for the long run, and they're just like shoving it down your throat, and I'm like, no, they're not, so, I don't know, Aquaman, or Justice League is just whatever to me. I'm not I was in love with it, and I dropped the book. I haven't read it. That's the only Rebirth book that I've read that I've dropped. It's not bad, the story's fine, but it's just like nothing's really happened yet. I've read 2 issues, and I really don't like that. Like when I read a book and I feel like nothing's happening in it, I spent $6, plus tax on to read something where nothing's happened, and like that sort of annoys me. And that's definitely the case with Justice League. Like you will read the Rebirth issue and issue 1 of Justice League, and nothing happens in that time span. There's no developments of the plot, really. We see some good character interaction, I suppose. But, so my advice for Justice League is Jeff Johns' New 52 run, which was very good. Definitely check that out. Not that Rebirth's bad, it's being written by, Hitch. Tom Hitch, is that his name? Brian Hitch, that's right. So, I mean, he's a reputable comic writer. So the series is probably going to turn out to be good. It's just if you have the patience to ride the book or not. I didn't. And I have to find something to cut. I can't afford to read all this shit. So, I'm reading everything else. I'm spending $25, $30 a week at the comic book store. So if I could find something that I don't love, that I'm not absolutely in love with, that I just took the time to drop it. So I don't plan on dropping anything else, even other books that I'm just like sort of lukewarm on. I'm trying to think of an example. Like Wonder Woman to me has been okay. I'm going to hold on. I'm going to ride that book. I'm going to ride... The Flash has been good, so, I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, I mean, everything really, there's no bad books in DC Rebirth, and that's, one of the things I wanted to get across in this video. We've already been going for 14 minutes, so I'm going to end it here. DC Rebirth has not produced a bad comic series. Everything is either, like, pretty good or up, like, amazing, such as Aquaman and Nightwing and Supergirl. And these are not even, this isn't even scratching the surface of what I, have been loving with DC Rebirth. I haven't even mentioned Red Hood and the Outlaws. I haven't mentioned Superman. These are just my absolute favorites and what I would recommend if you can only read a few. Okay, so hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And let me know if you want to see more comic reviews and, just videos on comic books. I've been really enjoying DC Rebirth. I've never really read, like, one property so extensively. I'm reading everything at this point for Rebirth. I've never done that before. I've been reading comics since I was 5 or 6 years old, maybe a little bit younger. And you always go into the comic book store and you just look and find what you like or what cover art is cool. And even in the New 52, a little bit I would just sort of like go in and just find Batman or characters that I'm familiar with and buy an issue or two. But I've never read a property so extensively, and I'm just so happy that DC did Rebirth, and great timing as well for me anyway. So, my wallet doesn't like it very much, but I'm loving it, so the books have been great. So anyway, guys, hope you'll have enjoyed the video. Let me know what you're loving about DC Rebirth in the comment section below, and if you're not reading it, tell me why you're not, and if you plan to get started, and if you're going to take any of my advice on what we should be reading. Okay, anyway, guys, hope you'll have enjoyed the video. My name is Slickmoth. We'll see you in the next one.